see what kind of fun we have in store today. We're just going to talk about basic song form markings. It's Monday. Song form markings, many of which you may already know. We just want to make sure everybody's got them under their belt and understands how they work. Not everybody does, and that's okay. That's what we're here for. We're going to look at all these repeat signs, first and second endings, da capo, del segno, and coda. So repeat signs, you guys are all familiar with these, I am sure. Repeat signs take a section and simply tell you to repeat it. It's pretty obvious. This is the start repeat sign, obviously. That's the end repeat sign, of course. In Sibelius, it's under the notations tab in bar lines. And I only make a fuss about that because A, it's helpful for you to know to use Sibelius properly. Not to be confused with these kind of repeat signs. These are called repeat signs, but they are actually a type of bar line. If you look at it, you know, the two dots tell you that a repeat is going on. These are also repeat signs, but if you'll note, they're in the symbols because they are a symbol. So, but they're a little more specific. They're almost like a tiny little region thing. This guy means to repeat the previous bar, and this obviously means to repeat the previous two bars. So, as an example, where's that? Yes, that's okay. Board's giving me some grief here today. So if I have if I do this, make sure I do it the right way. Yes. If I do that, that means I'm going to go fa, sol, la, fa, mi, do, fa, mi, do. Lazy. Musicians have all kinds of shortcuts. But if you think about it, remember the first writing of music started with monks, the only ones who were educated in the system, and jars of ink that was probably really expensive and hard to procure enough to make sure that the ink remained, because we still have it to this day. And I kid you not, quills, feathers, by hand. Okay, so they found ways, and I'm not sure that, you know, that these signs were initiated in the Middle Ages. I highly doubt it. But the point is, music was handwritten for centuries. So yes, they came up with ways to save ink and make things go faster. So this means repeat the measure before, right? Let's say I got whoops, sorry. Okay, so now I want to repeat the last two measures. You actually take that symbol, this symbol, right? But you cross it across the two bars where it would have been written if you had written it out. Make sense? So that means repeat the previous two bars. Here we go again. Do, fa, sol, la, fa, mi, do, re, mi, re, do. I got it right this time. Do, fa, mi, do. Mi, re, do. That's a very helpful symbol, actually. You find it a lot of times in things like, if you ever done musicals, a lot of times action takes place on the stage, and they just want you to repeat a couple bars until actor gets from point A to point B, and you'll see things like that a lot. And it's used in all kinds of music, but in my experience, I've seen it a lot there. First and second endings, you guys know about these? Just some little minor things I want to point out that are small but important. So, first ending, you got maybe the beginning of a piece, most likely, but not always. First endings can show up anywhere. Playing along, la 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 la. You get your first ending, something's going on. I'm gonna have a repeat sign, so I'm gonna play the first ending, see the repeat sign, and I'm either gonna go back to the start repeats. If there are no start repeats, I'm gonna go back to the beginning of the song. A lot of times the beginning of a song will not show start repeats because it's a given you're repeating the section, just go back to the beginning because there's not a lot going on here. We started at the beginning. Make sense? Second time around, la da la da la da. I did this already, thank you. Moving on. Second ending, and off I fly. Continue on. Make sense? Small thing. If you look at the first ending, we have this number here. It lines up with the measure. It's supposed to. And it's a staple shape. The first ending is a staple shape that lines up with the shape of the measure. This little dealio here is a really small thing, but it's important. I think it's a little, tiny little visual and psychological cue to a musician that I am going to go back. This is an encapsulated area. I have to go back and do something. Check the difference. I came along, I did my first ending, and I go back to the beginning, la 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 la. Second ending, I did that already, I'm gonna skip it. Oh look, I get to fly free. It's not encapsulated. See what I mean? It's only a little thing, and Sibelius will do it for you automatically, but you guys need to know this stuff. So, play first time, follow repeat sign, go back, second ending. After the repeat, you skip the first because you did it already, and play the second ending and move on. There are even first, second, and third endings as well, and it just continues the principle. But don't worry about that. Again, these are considered lines in the notation tab when you go to use them, if you need them for anything. For whatever reason, Italy in Europe was the center of a lot of musical cultural development for a time. All of the Western music that came to us, of course, by Western I mean grew and developed in Europe. All of the countries, France, Germany, and Italy, were biggies at some point. It doesn't mean the other countries didn't have music going on. Of course they did. It's just that Italy, France, and Germany were the biggies, generally speaking, in a sort of a drive-by of music history, which is not accurate, but suffice it to say that French, Italian, and German were the big centers. For whatever reason, the Italians stuck in a lot of music terminology. So this is all Italian. Da capo, from the beginning. Capo, where you put your capo on your head. Da capo is the top. A lot of times in I don't know what to call it. I will say jazz because people refer to it that way. The main melody of a jazz tune is called the head. And a lot of times if you're improvising, blah, 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 you've got a group of people and you're improvising, you want to go back to the top or play the head, they will just do that. And everybody knows what that means. From da capo, from the beginning, or the top. Del segno. Segno just means sign, the Italian word for sign. Segno, and there's the sign. Cool? You guys know this stuff. Maybe you haven't, had to manipulate it much, but you'll see how it works. Coda literally means tail in Italian. It's a little extra end section at the end, and it's frequently assists a writer in not having to repeat a section. I'll show you why in a second. We'll look at all these done. And so here is an example using most of these, if not all of them. And there are some little tweaks that I should have done. I personally like to see coda, both where they tell you to go to the coda and at the coda, but we'll look at that right now. So, what key am I in? Take your time. There's a lot to analyze there. What are my choices? E major and? Count up 6. C sharp minor. What do you think? Which? Yep, because this is a B7. I know it might not be quickest for, unless you played a bass clef instrument, might not be so quick to read that. That is a B7. That's an E as our last chord. We start with an E. That's an A chord. B7, E, C sharp minor, etc. So you get the picture. First part of the melody goes do, re, mi. I forgot to put the keyboard on. Where's my switch? There it is. So, why? What are these called? Right here. Come on, light up for me. What are these called? What? Yep, and what do you call them? Do you remember the generic term for them? Dynamic markings, which, you have to be careful. So many things in the electronic side of the world, I remember the first time somebody said to me, oh, well, it's a dynamic website. I'm like, because my training was musical first. It's a dynamic website. What, you can turn the volume up and down? What's... So you have to be careful with the terminology. Dynamic markings simply mean exactly what you said, Courtney, how loud or soft stuff should be. Why do I have 2 dynamic markings with 1 in parentheses?
One's for the first time.
Bingo, one's for the first time you go through. Since we have a first ending, and there's that whole complete staple form, and it encases both of the measures here, because when we go back again, we're only going to play these 2 and then skip over to the second ending, right? But first time through, oh, okay, I got 2 sets, I'm going to play it. Which volume? First time through. Pianissimo, first time through, I'm taking the first ending and boing, going back. Oh, mezzo forte, second time, and I've done it already, going on to the second ending. Whee, fly free. What does this mean? What does it mean? To grow in volume, yep. And what does this mean? Decrescendo, which does what? Decreases in volume. Here's some hairpins. This direction hairpin is very visual, is the same as a crescendo. This direction hairpin is the same as a decrescendo. It's real visual. You're either getting more sound or having the sound get smaller. So there we go. We took the second ending. Oh, a sign showed up. We can't do anything about it yet. We just need to know it's there. Moving on. Little mezzo piano, da da da. Oh, we're going to have to use a coda somewhere along the line, but first time through, we're not going to it yet. Moving on. La 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 la. Ah! Dal segno al coda. That means go from the sign, dal segno, from the sign, to the coda. So from here, where am I going? What measures that?
Second line, second bar.
Correct. Second line, or you could even call it a system because there is more than one staff. You can call it a system. Second line, second system, second measure. So here, when I get through the first time, dal segno al coda. So that tells me I'm going to the sign, but I'm not going to come here again. Dal segno, da da doody doody. Here I go, here I go, here I go. Whoa, bam, there it is. And my fault. But I always like to see the little coda symbol there too. So from here, I'm going where? Coda. And I usually like to see the word coda written there. That suffices, but you want to make things absolutely crystal clear, like draw pictures for your musicians so there's no argument, no lack of clarity in any form, and everybody knows where they're going and what they're doing. You don't waste time. So I go to the coda, and bam, I'm done. Here I go, from the beginning, without a pedal. And I'm in E major. Pianissimo. Where am I? First ending, I should be getting louder. Crescendo. Where am I going? Back to the beginning. Now I'm mezzo forte. Where am I going now? Second ending, and I'm going to decrescendo. This is really soft. Crescendo, decrescendo. Now on a piano, I can't control. Once I strike, it starts to decay. I can't really control. The decrescendo, it's doing it automatically. Moving on. Mezzo piano. Going to crescendo a little. Decrescendo. I'm not going to the coda yet. I'm not there. I didn't talk about all these signs. What's this? It's one you should know.
Bird's eye.
Fermata, colloquially known as a bird's eye, but the correct name is fermata. You just hold it. Now, since I'm performing alone, I can hold that as long as I want. And does anybody know what that is? Didn't talk about that one. That is called a caesura, colloquially known as train tracks. A caesura is when you come into a complete dead silent stop. Everything stops, and you can hear a pin drop afterwards. It's usually in a larger ensemble, like orchestrally. It's usually a big dramatic da-da! And like everybody freezes. The conductor usually freezes. Everybody just goes. You just come to this big dramatic, usually large volume with a big cutoff. Not always, but it's a big cutoff. You get my point. It's dramatic. Fermatas are up to the performer when they're alone, but everybody's got to be on the same page. And the caesur, you got that. All right, now, I stopped there, didn't I? Did I go to the end? No, I didn't. So if I stopped here, if I had my big dramatic caesur, where am I going now? The sign at mezzo piano. Where am I going? Coda. Again, fermata. Up to me, since I'm alone. Keep in mind, you have access to Sibelius Essential Training, and you can look up all the little markings and whatnot as you need them. And you're going to need some of them, not necessarily all of them. Because it's just the same fingering. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Good? All right. And you know the drill by now, spelling the triads and all that jazz. Here's your lead sheet. This is what I'm going to talk about a little more. So when we look at a lead sheet, it has some critical information. It has only one staff, always a treble clef staff. It's got the key signature, the time signature. Shame on me. I didn't put a metronome marking in, but that's for a reason, because for you guys, I'm not demanding that you have it at a certain tempo, just at a tempo that is steady for you. Like, use a metronome at whatever speed you can get it right, okay? So that's why there's no metronome marking, but there should be one. It includes the melody, the harmony above. Notice, 0 Roman numerals. You do not put Roman numerals in a lead sheet, ever. It's a no-no. Doesn't happen. If Roman numerals are used, they are analytical, right? Now, some people, I have gotten lead sheets, and the reason I threw Roman numerals in was because it was mine, and I was on the spot going, the singer wants to do it in B flat, not E flat. And I'm like, oh, crap, I need Roman numerals. I confess I don't transpose that well. If I have the Roman numerals, I can just think in the new key, and I can just bam out the Roman numerals. Point is, there are no Roman numerals in a lead sheet. All you get are the correct chord symbol names above the staff, the melody on the staff. Below the staff is lyric if applicable. We have no lyric here, obviously. Okay, so what happens is, this is what I want you guys to understand. Whether you execute it fully is another deal, but this is what I want you to understand. The lead sheet is generally given to a harmony instrument, piano, guitar. You can give it to a bass player. You can give it to a trumpet player. You can give it to anybody. They're going to be able to read it, okay? Generally speaking, given to harmony players like guitar, piano, because pianist is going to play the melody with the right hand and realize the harmony, realize the chords, in other words, construct and play the chords correctly with their left hand. That's how it should be done, generally speaking. Or a pianist might also construct the chords between two hands, but the melody is going to be on top, is the point. You wouldn't generally want to cover the melody. Our ears are going to go for the top and bottom notes, generally speaking, so you want the melody note on top, generally. Guitar player may or may not be able to do the same thing, but they're definitely going to need the harmony. Any other instrument, a bass player can certainly make bass lines knowing what the chords are. They're probably not going to do much with the melody, but a bass player can still benefit from this. A drummer can benefit to a large degree from the time, the key, looking at how it's structured, looking for places to mark off sections, which is a great thing that drummers do if you pay attention and they're a good drummer. Okay? That's in the real world. That's happy, how it's done. Wham, bam, you take this, you go, oh yes, thank you, here I am playing with my left hand and the melody, and off I go, da-da-da-da, right? I get that you guys are noobs, most of you, for playing the keyboard, and that's okay. What I do want to hear from you guys is the harmony on time. I don't care if you spread it between two hands. I don't care if you do it with one hand or the other hand. Just want to hear the correct harmony on time. Make sense? So when you're practicing through it, use a metronome. So all you're going to do is 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 1, I'm in E major, here I go. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 1 lolly, 2 lolly. You get it? Why don't you do it? First chord, E major 7. Spell it. We're in the key of what? What key are we in? We're in E, indeed. E major. Well, you said E, that means major. Oh, I hear something. Oh, I hear a 6. Careful. E major 7. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Okay. I'm seeing a little bit of timid there. Don't be afraid. Your fingers will go up in there. Look how far up my finger is. You need a D sharp. What's the major 7? What note is the major 7 in E major 7 chord? What is it? D sharp. D like David Sharp. So your chord is E, G sharp, B, D sharp. There you go. First chord. You do not have to invert. You don't have to do anything like that except get the right harmony on time. Play the C minor 7. C sharp minor 7, my bad. Take your time. It's Roman numeral 6. It's a 6-7 chord. And remember, 6 chords are always minor in a major key, if we're staying diatonic, which we are. I hear major. C sharp minor 7. C sharp, E, G sharp. What? B. B like boy. Good. Go back to your E major 7. Careful. E, G sharp, B, D sharp. D like David Sharp. Good. Now find F sharp minor 7. That's the 2 minor 7 chord. F sharp minor, you can get no problem. It's the 7. Make sure you got the right thing. Remember, in a minor 7 chord, the 7th is minor there too, so it's going to be a whole step lower than the note you started on up an octave. F sharp, A, C sharp, what? E, correct. Go to the second line. Back to good old C sharp minor again. C sharp, E, G sharp, what? B, correct. What's the 2 chord in this key? End of the first line. What's the 2 chord? Careful, F sharp means major. F sharp minor is the 2 chord. Remember, 2, 3, and 6 are always minor. So yeah, that's diatonic. That's where we were. We played that. Whoa, hold the presses. What's this chord? F sharp 7. Is that diatonic? No, you just got done telling me the 2 chord is supposed to be a minor 7. And it is. This is not diatonic. F sharp 7. Spell it. F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, yes. E, down a whole step from where you started because it's a dominant 7th quality chord. That E is down a whole step from the F sharp, right? Cool. So it's not diatonic. It's not special. Well, if we're thinking it's a secondary dominant, where should it resolve? What root-based chord? What note? Voila! That's a secondary dominant as well. So it goes to B7. Is B7 diatonic? We're in the key of E. It's hard to see, Anthony, I know. Is B7 diatonic? Yeah, it's the 5 chord of the key we're in. So this is the 5-7. Oh, I heard a sharp 9. This is the 5-7 of 5-7. The only reason this is in red, if you have a 25-note keyboard, you might not be able to fit it and you might have to invert that. If you have a bigger keyboard, don't worry about play everything in root position. You can still play everything in root position. Just on a 25 or you might not make it. Okay? And then we go back to our 1 chord, which is? What's our 1 chord? I hear dominant. Fix that. I hear dominant and there's no one there. Gershwin song. Do you know it? Good, at least somebody got the joke. Yep, cool, makes sense, guys? So what you have to do is that in good time. And there's no metronome marking because, as you know, when we get all together in lab and go through it, we try a couple speeds to give everybody an opportunity to get it right. So make sure you practice with a metronome. Coolio? Questions? Oh, here it is. Here's solfege. We're do to do, and we have been for the week, last 2 weeks. Here are more of these lovely 16th note divisions. These two are the hardest rhythmic exercises for the whole month. So I'm going to tell you, there's the kicker right there. I got a 16th note tied to the next quarter note. I'm sorry, 8th note. Read music much? Tied to the next 8th note. Cool? Why don't we try the first one? Ready? Give it a whirl. You know what? Think through it first. Look for trouble spots. This is something you haven't seen, but it's not a big deal. It's just like 3/8. Only the first one's a rest. That's why I don't fuss about that. That's pretty direct. You ready? 1 la li, 2 la ta li ta, 1 ta la ta li ta, go. Clap and speak. Speak. Rest. Good. Just careful right here. You got lulled into a false sense of security that it was this figure. It's the whole beat. Good. Try this one. Take your time. You know what? I want you to do just the last measure. Look at the last measure first. It's one of those kind of rhythms. You got to be careful with it. Let's try it. Just the last measure. 1E and a 2E, a 3E and a go. And. Almost. I didn't hear this. Figure it out. Do it without the tie. Okay, ignore the tie. For now, ignore the tie. That'll help you get it right. If anything's ever tricky like that, make it easier for yourself and then just add the problem back in. In this case, remove the tie. Ignore the tie for now, then put the tie back in. It'll be easier. Without the tie, 1E and a 2E, a 3E and a go. Speak. Almost, we're not getting this. I'm not hearing this correctly. Play this figure. This figure, 4 beats worth of this figure. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a go. And. Yeah, do 4 beats of that figure. This is only 1 beat of rhythm. So do 4 beats of that figure. 1, 2, and a 3, and a go. And a. Good. Do this figure and that. Twice. Okay? These 2 beats twice. 1 and a 2, 3, and a go. And. Good. Do the first 2 beats. Twice. 1E and 2, a 3E and go. Go again. 1E and 2, a 3E and go. Almost. Do it twice. Do this once, and then go back and do that again. 1E and 2, a 3E and go. Good. All right. Do the whole thing. No rest. No tie. Sorry. Other thing. No tie. 1E and 2, 3E and go. No tie. Again, 1E and 2, a 3E and go. And. Yep, don't do the tie. Ignore the tie. Ignore the tie. I expect you to get today. Probably look at that stuff all the time. 1E and 2, no tie. 3E and go. And. Again, no tie, go. And. Good. Put the tie in. Think about it for a second. Put the tie in. 1E and 2, and a go. Good. So you're gonna hear me hit the pulse tap here, but you guys shouldn't make a sound. One more time. Last measure. Do it twice. 1E and 2, and a go. Again, Do it twice. Ready? This is the second time. Go. Good. Do the whole thing. That's like the hardest rhythm anywhere in the whole thing. Look it over. Look for treble spots. Syncopa, syncopa. 1E, a 3E, a 1, 2, and a go. Beginning. Yeah, a bunch of ticks, but that's okay. You get the drift right here. That's the hardest part right there. Make sense? Questions? I could hear a pin drop around the clapping. Speak! You got to speak the rhythms, guys. You got to be able to speak them and get them out. Let's look at it in A major. So we're in A major. Give me a 1 major 7 chord. I hear dominant. I want major 7. There you go. You got to get those straight, guys. Big difference in quality between them. So, spell A major 7 for me. Perfect. We'll look at how you can invert them. You are not required to. If you invert incorrectly and have a wrong note, your chord is wrong. Okay? So, this is just an exercise so you can see it. If you choose to do it, be careful. Don't be wrong. If we want a 4 major 7, use it, put it in second inversion. First of all, let's find the 4 major 7 in root position. What's the 4 major 7 in the key of A? What is the 4 major 7 chord if you're in the key of A? D what? You can't just say D major. That's D F sharp A. I asked for D major 7, so spell D major 7. Nope, I'm hearing dominant again. That's still here dominant. It's a major 7. There you go. D, F sharp, A, what? C sharp. Remember, a major 7 is only going to be a half step below the note you started on up an octave. Okay? Dominant 7 is a whole step below the note you started up an octave. Major 7 is only a half step away. That's root position. Put it in first inversion. Put the D up on top. What do you got? F sharp, A, C sharp, D. And you're going to have a half step in this chord. Right? Put it in second inversion. Put the F sharp up on top. What do you got? A, C sharp, D, F sharp. Now that's kind of to me that's a little harder for the brain to remember. Like I said, with the choices of inverting or not, or when you had choices when you did have to use smooth voice leading for inversions, it seems like one choice is easier for your brain to do and hard on your hand, and the other one is hard on your brain and easy on your hand. So whichever works for you. You are not required to invert these. So we got A, D, C sharp. Wait a minute, did I spell it right? Wait, it's a D second inversion. A, C sharp, D, F sharp. That's what I missed, the C sharp. A, C sharp, D, F sharp, right? You just came from playing A, C sharp, E, G sharp. There you go. And you go back again to, light up, come on, light up. You go back to A, C sharp, D, F sharp. So that's like super smooth voicing, but you're not required to. It's your call whether you want to do it or not, okay? Then we go to a 2 minor 7. We're in A major. What's the 2 minor 7 chord? B minor. Excellent. We're just putting it in root position. Whoopsie. Spell it for me. Correct. B, D, F sharp, A. If you're going to the 5-7 now, that we're going to use for once, everything's been first inversion the whole month. We're going to go to second inversion of the 5-7. What's the 5-7 in the key of A? E. Dominant 7th. Correct. I almost said that wrong. Thanks. You saved me there, Courtney. So we're using second inversion, not first. If you put the E up on top, that's first inversion. You get G sharp, B, D, E, right? We're going to second inversion. Put the G sharp up on top and start with B. E7 in second inversion. B, D, E, G sharp. You just change to A, C sharp, E, G sharp. Just want you to see the smooth voice leading. So again, your guys' call, but just keep in mind, if you play the wrong notes, you're wrong.